Last year, ACEMAGIC's F5A was an absolute banger of a mini PC, but this year, they've changed more than just the CPU. Today, we're finding out if these updates actually make it better, or if they ruined a good thing. The case looks very much the same as it did previously, though I noticed a slight update to the side with diagonal vents over horizontal. Otherwise, you'll find the same solid exterior build quality with a metal midsection. The top and bottom are plastic. So as you might have already figured out, especially if you saw the previous review, the update to the mobile CPU on the 2026 F5A is AMD's Ryzen HX 470, a refresh of the HX 370 with some clock speed increases and Radeon 890M graphics. One big change from last year is that ACEMAGIC offers the F5A in two distinct models. A DDR5 SODIMM slot barebones version for those wanting a replaceable and upgradable RAM option, while for the pre-build, ACEMAGIC includes faster soldered LPDDR5X. This is an interesting development we haven't seen before and will please both crowds whether they favor upgradability or speed. AMD's Ryzen HX 470 officially supports up to DDR5 5600 or LPDDR5X 8533. The F5A pre-build runs at LPDDR5X 8000 out of the box. Not the fastest, but close to maxing out the unit. Although, it is possible to max it out in the BIOS. Price-wise, ACEMAGIC's F5A starts at $659 for the barebones with free shipping, which is actually down $10 over last year, while the 32GB RAM 1TB SSD pre-build comes in at $1,049, up from $818 previously, which sounds right with how much RAM and SSDs have shot up in price over the period, and I think this is reasonable. Oh, and on top of that, ACEMAGIC provided me with a coupon so you can save an additional $20 or 20 euros off the official website price. Coupon, links, and expiry date is in the video description. Nothing has changed on the accessory front. The F5A comes with a 19V 120W power brick. Still no compact GAN unit, so it's pretty large. There's also a HDMI cable and VESA mount. Port-wise, also no change. That includes a 3.5mm audio jack, two USB Type-A 10GB, and a fully featured USB 4 40GB on the front, supporting power and display. Next to it is a microphone and reset hole. On the side is an Oculink port. For wireless and Bluetooth, ACEMAGIC has included a Wi-Fi 7 chip. On the back is another fully featured USB 4 port, dual Intel 2.5GB LAN, HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort 2.1, a USB-A 10GB, and USB 2. So a very nice selection to cater for most usage cases. It would have been really cool if ACEMAGIC had changed the location of the screws away from under the glued on rubber feet to make it easier to open, or just drilled holes into them for easier access. Anyway, once all of them are finally plucked out and the screws removed, you just need to pull off the lid and we have another surprise. So the previous model had SODIMM slots, but since they take up a lot of space, there are only two M.2 storage slots available. So ACEMAGIC could have just done the same here, but nope, with the extra space provided by the LPDDR5X soldered memory, they've gone the extra mile and added a third M.2 slot. Unexpected and a really nice addition. However, there aren't unlimited PCIe lanes to go around, so what you do get is one slot supporting Gen 4 X4 speeds, and the other two are Gen 4 X2, which is basically equivalent to a full speed Gen 3 slot. If you buy the pre-build like the one we're looking at instead of barebones, it will include Windows 11 Pro pre-installed on the SSD. The Malwarebytes scan result for rootkits and malware came back clear. Ubuntu works fine with the latest version, tested at the time of recording. The F5A's power limit is set to balance mode in the BIOS, but the performance mode was also tested. So, let's check out the results. In single-core Cinebench, we don't see much of an improvement over last year, but that's to be expected from this refresh. Still, it's the second best HX40 result so far. Multi-core performance is better than last year's unit, as you'd hope, although it doesn't quite match up with the best results until performance mode is enabled. In Geekbench single core, the new F5A does well, almost matching the best results. Multicore shows it to have the best AMD CPU score thanks to the faster memory. There's also a more substantial improvement here over last year. Comparing their best results, we see around an 8% increase for the new F5A. Moving on to the short H.264 CPU video encoding test, and the new version beats the previous one slightly. In performance mode, it matches the top result. The longer AV1 CPU encoding test shows a few percent improvement over last year, and the F5A takes another win for AMD chips in performance mode. When we switch the same workload to the iGPU for the heavy lifting, the F5A takes another win against the AMD CPUs when in performance mode. The Geekbench AI CPU benchmark was the only one where the previous mini performed better, an odd anomaly. However, the same AI benchmark on the iGPU results in a substantial win for the new F5A over all Ryzen minis. The boost in score can also be seen in the 3D Mark graphics benchmarks, where the new F5A is comfortably ahead of all the AMD Ryzen mini PCs. Against the best DDR5 SODIMM score, it's 8.5% ahead in Firestrike, just over 6% in TimeSpy, and comparing against the same mini PC as the previous two benchmarks, 5.5% in Steel Nomad Lite. So we have a mini PC with excellent CPU and iGPU performance. 3D Mark is a good ballpark for what you can expect comparatively, but won't tell you what frame rate you'll get in games. This time I wanted to compare the previous HX 470 mini PC with DDR5 5600 SODIMM versus this one with LP DDR5X 8000. So here it is, with no upscaling or frame gen, just native rendering. Unsurprisingly, the F5A with faster memory sees better frame rates across the board, ranging from single-digit percentage improvements to around 10%.
Primary objective complete. All targets eliminated.
It should be around here.
No, that's fine. Uh-huh.
Did you hear Eric was promoted?
Of course, the big draw card of this mini PC is that it supports both USB 4 and Oculink for those wanting to use an eGPU or other expansion device. As usual, both are tested side by side so you can see the difference. Oculink provides a much better gaming experience, and the amount of improvement depends on the bandwidth requirement of the game title. Not many mini PCs come with an inbuilt microphone, and when they do, they're not very good. Here it is with default settings. Nothing to email home about. If you want the fastest compact mini PC for compiling code, then the HX 470 in the ACEMAGIC F5A is currently the second best mini PC we've tested. It's the fastest in Adobe Photoshop, and did impressively well in Adobe Premiere, substantially ahead of the other Ryzen mini PCs. Last year we saw a ByWin Gen 4 SSD included for the pre-build. This time it's a Zetai, which scored slightly better. The fan plus heatsink combo for cooling works great at keeping the SSD drive temp low. However, just be aware you don't get additional heatsinks for the 2 spare M.2 slots. Bluetooth range on this unit is better this time around, which is great to see. And with wireless, I had no connection issues at 12 meters or 39 feet from the router using the 5G band. An idle power draw of just 8 watts is a good result and matches last year's unit. Maximum power draw is similar to other mini PCs using this CPU, and the performance mode adds a bit more, reaching over 100 watts from the wall. The maximum CPU temperature on the F5A is very low compared to the competition. Couple that with its excellent performance, and the only missing part of the trifecta is fan noise. And I'm very happy to report the F5A is very much one of the quieter minis around with its default balance mode. On top of that, ACEMAGIC has fixed the high idle noise found on last year's unit. Performance mode is same, and that is still better than many mini PCs at their out-of-box setting. When it comes to size, this is a chunky unit overall, but still manages to stay under 1 liter in volume. The BIOS is accessed with the delete key on startup. You can change the amount of VRAM allocated in AMD CBS, NBIO common options, GFX configuration. It's set to just 2 GB by default. In UMC common options, you can overclock the RAM, but don't do this unless you know what you're doing. There's a reason it's set to 8000 megatransfers by default, likely because not all units are stable at 8533, or worst case scenario, won't even boot and will require a CMOS reset. Like I said, don't do it unless you know what you're doing. Hardware monitor allows you to change the fan settings. In power configuration, you'll find wake on LAN, auto power on, and the power limit setting. Everything that viewers have requested over the years. So how much do you gain from overclocking the RAM for the extra 533 megatransfers? Well, I did the 3D Mark benchmarks again, which will benefit most. Firestrike showed the lowest improvement at just 1%, while TimeSpy is almost 4%, and Steel Nomad Lite did hit 4%. That's a pretty decent increase. I'll compare the max speed in games in a future video series coming up. Breaking news, you heard it here first. Let's take a look at the mini PC checklist to see how the new F5A fares. And it ticks almost every box in the first column. If only it had that compact GAN power supply. But it does have a nice feature set, which continues on in the second column. I've given it a tick for max memory speed, as the barebones supports DDR5 5600, and this one can be overclocked to the maximum. It would have been nice out of the box, but I'll give it a pass. If you do want replaceable RAM, get the barebones. You just lose 1 storage slot, and of course the faster memory speed. Performance is great, cooling is good, and there's little to complain about. While ACEMAGIC does have driver downloads on their website, they don't seem to provide BIOS updates, and that's another cross on the sea of ticks. Finally, ACEMAGIC provides a longer 2-year warranty. And wow, 28 out of 30. This is the closest anyone's come to completing the checklist, which is fitting for such a nice mini PC. Overall, I'm really impressed with ACEMAGIC's new F5A. They didn't just CPU swap it, they improved it. And while they've gone with soldered RAM, there's a SODIMM slot barebones variant as well, so you can choose whether you want the easy upgrade or faster RAM and an extra M.2 storage slot. That's really cool. I'd actually be in favor of that for more models that benefit from faster RAM. More options is always a good thing. The F5A has a great feature set, good cooling, and low fan noise. It's again the best mini PC we've looked at from ACEMAGIC and my new favorite from the AMD Ryzen side. So congrats. Find it linked below. Like, subscribe, share to support the channel. Oh, and if you want to see what else ACEMAGIC has available or in the pipeline, my Computex video has their booth covered and more. Cheers!